Well, it's raining out here in the shop again. It's been a while since I've done a video. I've really been wanting to get out here, but I've had some personal things I've been having to deal with. But I'm going to try to get out here and kind of get back in the saddle again. And I've got this piece of walnut I just cut off the end of a log. And I'm going to chug this thing up and just see what I can get out of it. You know, I don't really have anything in particular. Maybe some type of rounded base, maybe, but we'll see. The bark came off of it. I have it in some sheets like this. I've got several of these, which I may still try to use it. I don't know. But hey, you know, good thing is we'll just be playing around and see what we get out of this piece of walnut here. I think it'll be pretty. But anyway, I've drilled me a hole right here for my wormwood screw, and I'm gonna put that thing in the wormwood screw and get it between center, and I'm gonna try to cut me a tenon on this end here. All right. Well, let's get started. See what we get. Okay. Well, it's raining. It's raining. It's a little loud out here. I apologize for that. But what I've done is I've got my wormwood screw in this end, pulled up to its center, and I've got my lathe set to its slowest speed, I think, or I will have. Okay, lathe is set to its slowest speed. Now we're going to give this a shot and try to get her balanced out. I'm going to start out with my 5/8 bowl gouge here. I'm just trying to make some pull cuts to start kind of shaping this thing, and I'm going to put a tenon on this end. Oh, I got some green and stuff in there too. Maybe a lot of nice coloring in there. We'll see. Okay. My jaws close up to 1.5 inches. So I want to go a little bit more, just barely a little bit more than that. And for my tenon. So I'm going to set up my tenon about 1 3/4 inches. Almost about that size right there. I'm going to come in with my skew and square everything up. Now, my chuck will be closed almost all the way completely shut. And I've got a 1/2 inch here, but back here I've got 9/16 depth on my chuck back here. So when I put it in the chuck, I'll have a good square shoulder here. The chuck will almost be closed, and there will be a very small gap between this and the bottom of the chuck. So the chuck rests solely and very securely right here along this shoulder. That's what you're looking for. Okay, what I'm starting to see develop is kind of an egg shape, and I like that. So this, as I take this on off up here at the very top, as I take this on off, up here at the very top, I'm going to be shaping this on down. So I'll end up with like an egg shape. So what I'm looking at doing is maybe a hollow form, some kind of hollow form that's an egg shape. But I'm just going to keep on going. I'm making some pull cuts off the top here, and we'll see what we end up with. Got some kind of little hole right there. Don't know where that came from. But we're just going to keep going and keep rough shaping. Okay, I've got my piece reversed around, and it's got a good rough shape now. So I've been doing a little pull cuts and stuff like that just to get the shape on kind of the way I want it. I'm going to continue on shaping just a little bit. I've got some rough areas right in here that I'm going to have to take care of, but then I'm just going to re-scrape the whole thing, try to get rid of some of that tear out right there. So anyway, I'm going to switch over to my 3/8 gouge and try to get that done. Okay, it's looking pretty good now. Fairly satisfied with it. So anyway, I'm going to go back and I'm going to start my sanding on the outside, and I'm probably going to power sand with my drill, at least for the first heavy grit, which is 80. I'm going to go and try to sand this stuff out. I've still got some tear out here. So anyway, I'm going to get that set up and I'll be right back. Okay, now I got all the really rough stuff out. I can go back and do my regular sanding. Okay, I'm going to start here with, I believe it's 60 grit. Yep, 60 grit. And I'm just going to start sanding on this thing. Definitely feeling a lot slicker. Alright, then I just have to go back with the grain, which means, you know, following these circles too, you know, like so. Because the trick, because you're definitely going to leave scratches, but you want the scratches to be with the grain. That'll also make it easier for your next grit to come in and cut those scratches out and make even smaller scratches until they're so small you can't notice. So this is what I'm doing right now. Just trying to get out all my tool marks and my sanding marks. And I'm just going to work on that. And I'll go all the way up through 400 grit on this one, or maybe 600. I may do it because I believe I'm going to spray lacquer on this one and try to get a really high gloss on this. I think that'll look really nice. So anyway, we'll see. I may, if I was going with more of a satin type finish, I'd probably stop around 400 grit, but since I'm wanting it glossy, I'm going to go on up to around 600. But I'm just going to keep on trucking, and I'll see you back in a few minutes. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to do just to help prepare me for my finish is I'm going to go ahead and seal this thing, but I'm going to seal it with tung oil. And all I'm going to do is wet this paper towel real good with tung oil and just wipe it on. Okay, well, I'm just beginning to bore down in. I've got to go about 5 5/8 inches down to here. I'll go in as far as I can with my Forstner bit, and then I'll come back and try to finish it out with my drill bit. I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not. It's not in grain, and it keeps trying to catch my bit, and it's twisting in my hand. So anyway, that's why I'm trying to Forstner bit right now. So anyway, I'm just going to bore this out down to the bottom. Alright, before I ran out of batteries a while ago, I put a coat of tung oil on here. And what that'll do is I had a little bit of trouble in a couple areas right in here with my sanding and not being able to get the tear out gone. So that will stiffen those fibers up for me so that I can go back and sand 220, 320, 400, and 600 again, and that should be able to cut that off right there. What's happening, it just moves around with the sandpaper and it won't allow it to cut it. But while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and work on my hollowing, and I'm going to try to go pretty thin with it, at least a quarter or maybe a little less. And we're just going to see what we get. Lay it up a little. Down some. 1,000 RPM. One thing I want to show you, it's this new hollower that I built. It is I made it from a 5/8 bar, an 18-inch long bar. It was actually 36. I cut it in half, and I made a cutter here out of an Allen wrench, out of an old Allen wrench, which is good hard steel, and I shaped it just like a round nose scraper. I used the same angle and sharpened it just the same way. But I've got a 18-inch poplar handle here, and it goes up in here about 3 inches. So anyway, I haven't tried it yet. It's a brand new tool, and I'm going to try to give it a shot and just see how it works. And maybe I've always had problems doing deep hollowing. Maybe this can help me out. Well, anyway, I'm gonna give this new hollower a try. I ran out of data while I was talking about it a minute ago, but I think you got the gist of it. It's 36 inches long. It's really, really heavy, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to get all the way down to the bottom with it. Maybe. We'll see. Okay, well, while hollowing, up around the edge, I was using my 3/8 bowl gouge, getting her nice and thin, really thin. It's about a 1/16 inch. Well, I got a catch, and it broke the tenon off. So I got to figure a way to get another tenon on here. So I think I'm just going to take a block. I'll try to sand this down. I'll try to take a block. Oh, wait a minute. I've got where I ran my Forstner bit down in the bottom down there. That's nice and flat. That may give me exactly what I need to get a new tenon cut square on here. Anyway, I'm gonna see if I can't fix that, and I'll be back once I get a tenon on here. All right. Well, in order to hopefully keep from breaking this tenon off again, which I couldn't actually get it back on. What had happened, that tenon was, it had come off on a loose part of the grain. But so when I tried to glue it back on, it just said I couldn't even get it to glue back on. So this is what I've come up with. I've got a waste block in the chuck, and I've re-glued. I've used hot glue on it to glue this back in place. So now I put my steady rest on it to hopefully keep some of the torque and all off of that tenon. Maybe I can finish getting this thing hollowed, but at least I've still got it true. It's still true. Now I do have a little bit of damage that was done, like right in here and all that, but I think I can use that with the piece. Thinking about cutting this way and cutting this part out right here also, and maybe coloring the very edge, but we'll see what we get. Anyway, I'm ready to finish hollowing now, and I'm going to get started on that. Alright, we're just going to get in here and get going. This is what I was doing when I threw it out. Right there, probably. I should have had my steady rest up to begin with. I'm just going to take my time with it. I'm just going to keep on hollowing, and I'll be back in a few minutes when I get done. Okay, well, I've got her hollowed all the way out, and it's about a 1/16 inch most of the way down. It's an eighth. It gets on up around an eighth down in this area here, but my new hollowing tool worked great. The only problem I saw with it was I had to keep resharpening my cutter. So I'll have to come up with a different type of cutter. But buddy, when it was sharp, man, it would just wear it out. And it wasn't very hard on the wood either. So a scraper type edge is really I think probably your better idea, and probably the smaller you go with your edge, the better off you'll be. Carbide cutters normally work really well in those things, but I have a large carbide cutter. It's a 12mm, and it doesn't do very good cutting. It makes really nice clean cuts up the sides and all, but it just doesn't cut very well, even when it is sharp. You're just trying to be too aggressive, I guess. My the way I fixed this here, when I put the new tenon on, all I did was I turned the vase around on this, mounted in the chuck, put the vase between the centers and flattened the bottom again, and I put another 1/2 inch tenon right in the middle. and then I put a glue block in here, and I put a 1/2 inch mortise in the middle of it so that I would get it dead center back on my glue block. That helped a lot. Everything worked out great. I just used hot glue to put it back on, and it spins fairly well. Right here on the end, I'm starting to get a little drying though, and I had some cracking and things like that, so I used it as a design opportunity here on the front. Maybe you can see. I just took my coping saw and I run just kind of a random pattern around the top edge here. It took out the little cracks that had formed on it, and then I took my Dremel with the drum sander on it and just went around the edges. So that I think that really made that top look nice. Actually, I think it looks better than the natural edge itself. But I'm just going back now and I'm re-sanding everything. I'm going to have to sand the inside. The way I'll do that is I have this stick here that I can get inside with, and I'll glue a piece of sandpaper to it, and I'll get started on that. Alright, well, I'll be back in a few minutes. Once I finish sanding, I'm going to go back to 600 on it, and then I'm going to start the inside. Okay, well, I've got her all sanded up through 600, and it's nice and slick. What I'm going to do now, I'm just going to ebonize the edge of this thing. I'm going to do it with a Sharpie, hopefully. I'm just going to color the edge and blacken it up. I'm using a Sharpie. Normally I would use a dye or something like that, but alcohol-based dyes are really just ink. But I'm afraid that I would get it everywhere. I can kind of control this a little better. But I'm going to continue on, and I'm just going to ebonize this whole edge all the way around here. And I may go back and touch a couple little areas with some 400-600 sandpaper and just give me a little more contrast in it. But after that, I'm gonna sand the inside. All right. Well, okay, I've got the edge ebonized. They call it ebonizing. It's just painting it black. All right. I just used a Sharpie pen just right around the edge, the very top edge. Now what I'm going to do is I've got this little sander that I made. I put some foam in here, and I just hot glued it to a stick, put some double stick tape on there, and wrapped some sandpaper around it. And it's pretty strong. We'll see how it works. Gotta be very careful with these edges. That foam kind of conforms to the shape a little bit. This is how I'm going to sand the inside. If I can get all the way to the bottom. Oh yeah, it's working pretty good. But once I get done with this grit, I'll take it off and I'll put another grit on it. The double stick tape is usually good for maybe 2 or 3 different grits, so I might have to do it a couple times. I'm just going to keep on doing my rough sanding. And most likely what I'm going to do on the inside is I'm going to finish it down to 220, and then I'm going to put some paste wax on the inside to give it just a nice feel, a good finished feel. Alright, well, I'm going to continue on, and once I get ready to put the finish in, I'll be back. Alright, well, I'm just going to wipe this thing down with lacquer thinner, since I'm using lacquer. Make sure the surface is really clean and ready for my finish. And we shall get this thing started. Alright. So, alright. I'm going to get my spray gun ready and we'll get this thing started. Alright. Well, I've got my spray gun here. And what I've done is I've mixed 50-50 lacquer with thinner in here, and I only have about a half a can, enough to do 2 coats, and those are basically just going to be my seal coats. So you want to have your little regulator back here so you can adjust your pressure and stuff, and make sure you've got a water filter on there, because you will pick up moisture from your compressor, and that just makes sure water doesn't shoot out with your thing. But I'm gonna put my first coat on, and it'll be a fairly heavy coat. Mainly, I'm just trying to get a good coating on there as a base. So here we go. On the inside also. Okay. Alright. Now I'll wait till that coat is good and cured or dry. It's about 15 minutes, and it'll be ready for the next coat. Yeah, I got in there really well. So actually, the first coat usually goes a lot quicker, but lacquer also says you don't have to sand between coats, but I always sand between each coat. I always sand. It may just be 400 grit or 600 grit, but you'll have a little roughness on there in between coats. So just knock that off. And well, I'll be back. I'll be back in a few minutes, and I'll keep you posted in between a few of the coats. It's liable to take up to about 10. Okay. Well, the first coat's dry, and just like I was saying, you can feel a little roughness on it. So I'm just going to go back with 600 grit. I'm just going to hand sand over it really lightly and knock that roughness off. That gets it back just as slick as a button. I'm just kind of sanding with the green. And yeah, it's just slick. But I'll do this for the first couple of coats. After the first couple of coats, you don't have to do it anymore. But this will really. All right. Okay, I've sanded the first coat. Got her sanded, and I've wiped the whole thing off with a new paper towel, and I'm getting ready for the second coat. Well, let me get my hose around here. It's kind of tangled up in my tripod. All right. Now we're gonna go with the second coat, and I won't be as heavy with this one. I was kind of heavy on the first coat just so I could get a lot of it soaked into the wood. Okay. And I'll just continue that process over and over and over. But after the first couple of coats, I'll be out of this mixture. Then I'll go with the full lacquer mixture. In other words, it comes straight out of the can into the onto the piece. But got a couple of places right here. Now, as of right now, with these first couple of coats, you still got lacquer soaking in and everything else. If you get some type of run or something like that, you can pretty much just wipe it off right now. Some of your later coats, you have to let that coat cure completely and go back and sand off any runs. So be very careful. Once I go full strength, I'll be spraying very little. I've been putting a lot on so far, first couple of coats, just to get everything sealed. But anyway, I'll be back. I'm going to go ahead, I'll get all my coats done, and I'll come back when I get ready to part that tenon off. Okay, I've just been taking the tenon off. And anyway, I'm just getting ready to finish this thing up. I'm going to take her off the lathe here in just a minute. And what I'm going to do with the bottom here is I'm going to use my friction polish on the bottom after I sign it. And should be in good shape. Just sanding. I'll come back and I'll take my skew and take that off the bottom right there. If you remember, when I was talking about having to put the glue block on there, I said I left a tenon on the bottom of the piece and a mortise in here. That way I could get it centered back up. Well, once I took this off, I still had my little center mark right there, so that's how I got it lined back up. Okay, well, we're all sanded, signed. All I got to do now is just get some little polish on the bottom. Have to be very careful though, like I keep repeating myself, with this friction polish. It thins with alcohol. And so does the ink that's in that Sharpie pen that I use to sign my stuff with. So the first couple of coats, you want to dab it and let the alcohol cure, and then we'll use the shellac to get it all sealed up. Then, after that, just want to be very careful not to take your name back off. Well, here we are. Nice little walnut hollow form, or vase, or whatever you want to use it for. I like it. I like it a lot. I love to look at that walnut, and there's green. I've never seen green in walnut, but there's green right here. And I've enjoyed doing this video. But I'm going to dedicate this video to my dad. He died about 3 weeks ago. And here's to you, Pop. Best woodworker and fisherman I ever knew. Love you, Pop. That's all for you. Y'all have a good evening.